Well, during the month of February, we celebrate the achievements of African Americans. Most of us have heard the story of the town of Allensworth, but you may not know about the existence of an African American community in Fowler some 20 years earlier.
Tonight, in a special report, CBS 47's Anthony Bailey shares the story of a little-known black community.
Over the last 100 years, Fowler has kept up with the times, offering most modern conveniences. The largely ag-power town has had a diverse history that included a large group of African-American settlers. We were curious to know if any of those original families still had relatives walking on Fowler soil today. The seeds of our journey started, like most, on the internet. Hidden deep in the virtual stacks of information was this photograph featured on the website valleyhistory.org. In the picture, a 90-year-old man sat quietly, resting in his rocking chair on his front porch. The caption dated back to 1890, nearly 20 years prior to the settlement in Allensworth. Well, our research led us here to Kearney Park, home of the Fresno Historical Society.
We really are here, and we've been here since 1919 to preserve, collect, and share the wonderful history of the valley.
A mission Ruth Long has fulfilled for the last 16 years. Among the 30,000 images sat a donated pile of 337 glass negatives.
This is the Hutchinson collection, and again, this is a very cherished collection we have in our collections because of what it depicts normal family life in Fowler. Mr. David Jennings, for instance, and there's several of them, several shots of him standing or sitting.
Information from a 1908 Fresno Morning Republican article stated that Jennings recalled growing up a slave in South Carolina. His daughter Julia Bell found her way to Fowler after the war. She would send for her brothers Jordan and Simeon to relocate as well. Jennings would later die in 1914. With a few leads in hand, we went back to the web, searching through dozens of links connected to Bell and the Youngs that were dead ends. Strangely enough, it was a site about death that would give our journey its life back. On the site, findagrave.com, we uncovered this picture and profile about Jordan Young. Jordan built this house for his wife Louisa, who was a midwife and spent her years delivering area babies. The joy of children still a focus of the family property, which was later sold to the city for this city park. As it turns out, the Find a Grave profile was actually created by his great-granddaughter Myra Weisinger. After searching several avenues, we found her on Facebook. A few days later, she responded from her Bay Area home, not only with a phone call, but with a DVD.
Farming all my life. Farming, I like it. I don't like city.
As it turned out, Grandpa Voss's story was featured in this 1985 documentary titled 40 Acres and a Mule.
These are farmers, black farmers.
In the documentary put together by veteran news anchor Jack Nolden, the 89-year-old Vossa talked about his family's roots farming in Fowler.
My grandfather was a farmer too. He liked to raise, he had a green thumb, he liked to raise fruit, all different kind of fruits, and he'd take it to the free market in Fresno.
So we wondered if our journey would end there, or was there a living member of these early African-American family settlers still living on the Fowler soil? Yes. Our answer lay not in Jordan Young's line, but in the line of his brother Simeon. We found this picture of Reverend Simeon Young's family that showed his 7 children. His son Milton, standing on the far left, would also go into grape farming.
And I wouldn't trade this for nothing.
Milton was also featured in that documentary, addressing why he thought many farmers around them didn't make it through the Depression.
They oversported, I guess, maybe. Bought new cars, and they all that. And then they just couldn't make it.
It would be those acres of grapes turned raisins that provided Milton a life for he and his family. So after weeks of talking to relatives and searching down the family tree, we found a number for who we believed was Milton's son. We tried the number, and the man on the other end of the phone was Ernie. We learned Ernie still lived in Fowler, and he shared his account of farming 40 acres of seedless grapes at the age of 13.
He had a lot of confidence in me that I could do what he was doing on the farm, so he just sort of turned it over to me.
For us, the seeds of exploration planted through our journey were brought to harvest while listening to Ernie's accounts of farming 40 acres of seedless grapes at the age of 13.
We'd cut them off, the grapes, lay them on the ground for them to dry from the sun.
Although Ernie would eventually choose a different path, going on to a career at PG&E, There were two things that he owes to his farming experience: his work ethic and his wife Marion.
You were up very early, before the sun was even up really. And Mom would have a large breakfast for us, and then we would go out in the fields, and you were there all day.
During their 48 years of marriage, the couple had a son and now grandchildren they hope will live by their family's founding principles.
If you want something, you have to work for it.
A living legacy of hard work and perseverance. Fowler pride with roots over a century in the making. Anthony Bailey, CBS 47 Eyewitness News.
What a cool story.
I know.
Yeah.
It's so interesting
Yeah.
and neat to find out, you know, the history of these places that we pass through
Yeah.
all the time.
Anthony did a lot of work on that one. If you'd like to see that special report again, we invite you to go to our website, yourcentralvalley.com.